Production support for award-winning News 6 has come from Whirlpool Corporation's Finley Division, working to make your life a little easier. Additional support has come from the Northwest Ohio Educational Technology Foundation and from this public television station.
Hi, I'm Nikki Marshall.
And I'm Joy Fraley.
And we're from Bluffton Elementary School, Bluffton, Ohio.
And this week on News 6, we're going to learn about the school's typing program. We're going to hear a lady play her bagpipes. And we're going to learn about gliding through the skies.
Hi, I'm Brian Wilson from Bluffton Elementary School in Bluffton, Ohio, and this is News 6. Here with our first story is Jenny Venata.
Every school morning between 8:30 and noon, small groups of students take part in our school typing program. Principal Eb Thompson told us all about it.
There is a new program at the Bluffton Elementary School. This program teaches the students about typing and word processing and to prepare them for the future computer instruction.
Mr. Thompson, he decided it was a good idea for the students to have this program.
We have been concerned for several years about how to teach computer. So it was really a joint effort of the staff finding a way to teach keyboarding and computer to the students.
How long has this program been going on?
We started last fall, but we really didn't get into having a solid schedule until December.
What kinds of things are the students taught?
Well, we have been struggling with how to teach keyboarding for some time, and it wasn't until we decided to use parent volunteers, use a separate room with a few computers, and allowing students to work at each level that we really got going. And the next thing we also did was we set up an incentive program where we said, when you master the home row key, you will get a lesson on the word processing, in word processing, and get a printout from the printer. When you master the second row, then you get to write a report. And when you master the third row, you can be a member of the computer club. And by setting up these incentives, that's really what encouraged students to be eager about learning to type.
What are your plans for the future with this program?
We would like to continue, maybe not in the same way, but we are hoping that we'll continue to have parent volunteers that are willing to help. That is really an essential part of it. We would like to expand it a little bit, but the main thing is that we should prepare students to be able to do word processing by the time they get into junior high.
Mr. Thompson, thank you for telling us about our computer program.
Today's show is being produced by Mrs. Janet Griggs' 6th grade class of Bluffton Elementary School. Bluffton is located about 20 miles southwest of Findlay. The town was founded in 1861 and has a population of about 3,500.
Located off I-75 is the central sales office of Grobe, a company that makes and sells gliders. The company has been in Bluffton for 5 years, and we stopped by to learn more about them.
Mr. Setchwardy, what made you decide to come to Bluffton 5 years ago to make gliders?
Well, we came to Bluffton for the reason of there was a ground for sale around an airport, and it also is in the center of the industry, of the automobile industry. And Grove's main line of industry is the automotive. And so that's why we picked Bluffton. And the gliders are built in Germany. We are a sister company of Grove from Germany.
What's the difference between a glider and an airplane?
The basic difference between a glider and an airplane is a glider doesn't have an engine, and an airplane does have an engine to launch itself. It also has a lot better glide on it. A Grove glider has basically, this glider here has a 36-to-1 glide ratio, where a normal Cessna or Piper or something like that, its glide ratio is about 10-to-1.
Is there one more kind of glider?
Yeah, there's a lot of different types of gliders made by half a dozen different manufacturers. At one time, there was probably 6 major manufacturers in the world. Germany is the biggest area for gliders, and Grobe came over here to sell their gliders in the U.S.
How long and far can you fly in a glider?
Well, it depends on the weather conditions, and they're probably, the longest trip in them has probably been 1,100 nautical miles or so, which would take, in a glider maybe up to 9 hours to do that. If you have the proper lift, you can stay up forever.
How do you learn to fly one?
Learn to fly a glider?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you'd have to go to a place that teaches it, for one. In the state of Ohio, we have Marion does it. There's a club down there in Marion, Ohio, and they have a Grobe like this, and you would have an instructor, and he would sit in the back seat, and you'd be in the front seat, and he would holler at you and shout at you and teach you how to fly this thing.
Thank you, Mr. Setoldi, for talking about Grobe with us.
Terry Wilson has been playing the bagpipes for 26 years. She recently stopped by our school to tell us more about her unique instrument.
Mrs. Wilson, when did you get interested in playing the bagpipes?
Just before I started high school, we moved to El Paso, Texas. And as we were moving in, I heard this wonderful sound wafting across the sand dunes. And my brother and I jumped on our bikes and we ran to find this sound. And here were all these girls playing bagpipes, just out in the middle of nowhere, just playing bagpipes. And I had never thought about playing the bagpipes. I'd never been close to anything like that. And I enjoyed the concert and went home and wondered who those girls were. And when I registered for school that fall, here bagpipe band was on the list of things I could register for. And the high school was Bel Air High School in El Paso, and their mascot was the Highlander. And they had an auxiliary band that played along with their marching band that was all girls. And I have been playing ever since, 26 years.
Could you explain your instrument to us?
And can be tuned, made longer or shorter. And a crude reed was developed, which basically is still pretty crude. It's a cane with a little plug in it and a tongue cut, and it vibrates when air goes through it, like that. That instrument plays just a long, low, droning sound, and then these two drones were later added in the evolution of the bagpipe, and they play an octave higher, a droning sound. The melody on the bagpipe is created with the chanter, chest fingering somewhat like a recorder. This instrument, the bag came from a kangaroo from Australia. The wood is a form of ebony. It's not a hard ebony, but it's a form of ebony from Africa. The nickel here, my nickel rings, come from South America. And the ivory-like fixtures are only plastic. So I have an economy model here, but those came from America. So as you can see, the bagpipe is really something that comes from all over the world.
That's all for this week's show. Join us next time when News 6 travels to Arlington, Ohio.
Production support for award-winning News 6 has come from Whirlpool Corporation's Finley Division, working to make your life a little easier. Additional support has come from the Northwest Ohio Educational Technology Foundation and from this public television station.